Okay, so on page 30 in your interactive notebook, we are just going to summarize what we just learned in the Desmos activity. So if you fold that page, on the front cover are all the theorems that you just discovered in that Desmos activity. So looking at corresponding angles, the theorem states that if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles are congruent. Theorem 3.2 states that if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent. Theorem 3.3, if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate exterior angles are congruent. And Theorem 3.4, if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then consecutive interior angles are supplementary. So using these four theorems, you are going to complete example 1. So you're going to use properties of parallel lines to find the value of x. So looking at the first diagram, you're given that you have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. And the two angles that you are given are corresponding angles. And remember that corresponding angles are congruent, which means that the measure of the angles are going to be equal. So 10x minus 26 is going to equal 7x plus 40. So again, first identify which type of angles they are, and then figure out if they are going to be equal measures or if the angles are going to be supplementary. So solving for x, you can subtract 7x on both sides first, and then add 26 to both sides, and then divide by 3. So for the first example, x equals 22. Moving over to the next example, again, we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, and this time we are given alternate interior angles. And alternate interior angles are congruent. So that means that the measure of these angles are going to be equal. So 8x minus 19 is going to equal 6x plus 11. Solving for x, you would subtract 6x from both sides first, then add 19, and finally divide by 2. So x equals 15. Okay. Right down at the bottom left, we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. And this time we are given alternate exterior angles. And alternate exterior angles are congruent. So that means that the measures of the angles are going to be equal. So 7x minus 16 is going to equal 4x plus 20. Solving for x, you can first subtract 4x from both sides. and then add 16. And then divide both sides by 3. So x equals 12. Oops, there we go. And then the last example, we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, and this time we're given consecutive interior angles. And consecutive interior angles have a sum of 180 degrees. So they're not congruent, they add up to 180 degrees. So that means 5x minus 19 plus 4x plus 10 has to equal 180 degrees. Solving this equation, you want to combine like terms. 5x plus 4x is 9x. And then you have negative 19 plus 10, which is negative 9. So again, combine like terms, x's go together, and then your constants go together. Then add 9 to both sides, and divide both sides by 9. So x equals 21.